You're listening to a Monster Kid podcast.
Hi and welcome to A Dingo Ate My Movie, a podcast that features classic Ozploitation and other weird, wonderful, overlooked and underappreciated Australian films from the 70s, 80s and beyond. My name is Pete and I'm your host.
The Night Rider. That is his name. The Night Rider. Remember him when you look at the night sky.
For this episode, I'm joined by two guests who have been super generous with their time on previous episodes. So I've got today from the Gory Picture Show, I've got Brandon and Lewis. Welcome back, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us. Good to be back.
So good to have you back. Yeah, it's great having you back. It's really cool.
This is my third time, I think, and Brandon's like ninth. I
was going to say,
he had like a residency here for a while, didn't he?
Right, yeah, residency.
Brandon's almost a regular, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It has been a while, though.
It has. I've got some more plans for you, Brandon, later this year, so it's all good. So
Oh, great.
I've got a couple in mind, so it's good.
Fantastic.
Good. Yeah, so I think Lewis, you did Body Melt, and we're
Body
back
Melt
at
and Turkey Shoot.
That's it, and we're back at that standard today. And Brandon, you've done, what did you do? You did
Well, The Man from Hong Kong.
Man from Hong Kong. You did my first real movie on Road Games. Did you Road Games?
Road Games, yeah. That was a fun one.
It was the one with Henry Thomas.
Yeah, Frog Dreaming.
That's it, Frog Dreaming, yeah. I was going to say The Quest, but that was the poster in my head. But anyway, oh, good. All right, so today we're going to talk about a great little film from John Lamond from 1980 called Nightmares.
Watch closely now, but don't dare look behind you. Just feel the skin crawl on the back of your neck. Something is lurking in the theater, and all the doors are barred, so there is no way out. But down. "15 years ago, this lovely young woman had a nightmarish experience. Today, she's a grown woman, and her nightmares are still happening. But now, they're all coming true." Bioscope presents Jenny Newman, Gary Sweet, Nina Landis, in a new story of terror featuring Max Phipps and John Michael Housen. Nightmares. The screams of terror in the night are silenced only by a sharp sliver of glass. Now take a look over your shoulder before you leave this theater, because you will never enter another theater in quite the same way again. Many motion pictures promise you terror, but Nightmares is truly frightening.
So the synopsis is pretty straightforward. It's a pretty straightforward movie, although it has lots of weird shit. So
It likes to pretend it's not a straightforward movie, but it's an incredibly straightforward movie.
It is. It is. I think we're going to have a lot of fun talking about this one. So anyway, I stole the synopsis from IMDb, so credit there. A stage actress hiding a deep trauma over a car accident that killed her mother finds herself living a new nightmare when her fellow cast members are butchered by a glass welding killer. Interesting, though, that in that synopsis there, it's kind of like they're saying that she's living a new nightmare when she is the nightmare. And they make it really clear right from the start. And I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer. The trailer makes it really clear as well.
Yeah, they include.
Well, there's no other option. There's no other option for who it could be the whole time. I was so shocked. I was like, we're just pretending? Like, every time there's a kill, we're just going to pretend we don't know who did it? Exactly. She's saying it. She's basically saying it afterwards that it's her.
It's pretty funny. And there's the time. I think what they're playing on sometimes is, or they tried to play on, is the fact that she had like two personalities. She had this Kathy personality of her as being a child when the accident happened, and then her adult personality as Helen, and they were fighting against each other, apparently. There was that one where she's yelling at herself up in the room, in the bedroom.
Yeah, and then the boyfriend listens to it, and he's like, it's probably nothing. Probably shouldn't follow up on that.
Give him credit, though. He works really hard to sort of like, be with her. I think a lot of guys would have given up ages before he did.
He does, and it's really weird because like their first meeting, when they meet at like the audition, no chemistry like whatsoever, but also just like the fact that like it doesn't seem to go well, but like after that they're like just kind of together. Yeah, like they don't explain much of where the romance came in.
Yeah, and like it's 2 days later, I think, in movie time, or a couple of days later, and he's telling her that he loves her, sort of thing. And I'm like, you only love her because you want to get into her pants. But anyway.
Well, and as we're going to talk about later, like it's difficult to follow the passage of time and like the sequence of events, like how much time has transpired between this scene and the next one, and which, I don't know, but we'll get there.
Well, you're right, and just that, like, also it goes straight from like auditions to they're doing the play, guys. We're here, we're ready to go. Yeah. Like,
and I was amazed that. Go on.
I was saying it has a brisk pace in that sense.
It certainly does. I was thinking like a couple of things. One is, even though they're playing in a big theater with lots of people, it seems like an amateur show that you would see in like a town hall somewhere. And secondly, I was like, how long are these rehearsals going for? Because in the movie, it seems like they only go for a few days. And I was thinking, well, normally even an amateur show or some sort of amateur play would rehearse for probably, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 weeks, right, before they start. So the director guy was just over the top too. He's really funny.
The director, the critic was insane.
John Michael Housen.
I can't wait to talk about the critic.
Oh, yeah, he's great. He's great.
How great would it be if that character was John Lovitz, the critic from Comedy Central?
Oh, wow, that's reaching back.
Mike and Anthony are obsessed with it, and I catch it. So now it's a part of my lexicon, I guess.
What's the show?
The Critic with John Lovitz. It was like an old animated comedy on.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, Comedy Central. It's pretty funny, and John Lovitz is great and everything.
The cast of this movie is pretty interesting. So Jenny Newman is Kathy/Helen Selleck, and she was an American actress that they brought in. They had someone else ready for the part, and they brought her in to play the part. Why they used someone, I guess he was trying for that sort of, let's get an American person into the movie like they did with Road Games, etc. and whatever. Interesting that John Lamond's daughter played the young Kathy Selleck at the beginning of the movie in the car, and even going as far as killing that guy. That's where I got confused as well. At the beginning of this movie, we'll get to it, hang on. Anyway, and the other most notable person is Gary Sweet, who plays Terry, who's the guy who keeps hitting on Helen all the time and bothers her to no end. And Gary Sweet is really well known in Australia. He was on a show called Water Rats, I think, and he's very much big on TV. He's a bit of a TV star. He said of this movie that he thought it was just terrible, but I think it was his first acting job or one of his first acting jobs. So, yeah, and he's not great in this as well. There's a few other people in this. The other one that's kind of stands out insofar as Ozploitation is Brioni Behetz, who's Angela, who gets killed. She was also the wife in Long Weekend. So she was in Long Weekend as well. So.
Was she the second actress to get the second actor to get killed?
I think she was the one that was killed.
Like right after the guy hits on her.
I can't remember. Maybe yeah, I think it was in the theater up near the bio box at the top of the theater. Yeah,
got it.
I believe this had the same producer as Long Weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Because I know Colin Eggleston wrote it. He's written a fair bit of this sort of stuff.
Oh, so same writer. Sorry.
I have a question, Pete. So, I mean, I'm still, despite this being my third tab on this show, I'm still a, amateur watcher of Ozploitation. Is Australian giallo a genre? Like, is that like a thing?
Well, I don't think it has been. I don't think it has been since this movie. And
it was a one and done thing.
Pretty much, I think. I can't think of, I was thinking about this. There's a few things I wanted to talk about. One is I'd probably consider this, I think, most likely the first Australian slasher movie ever. When I think about Ozploitation films, I can't think of any, because this has a body counter. I counted them last, I think it's 11, which makes it definitely a slasher, even though they all get killed the same way, basically, which is another bit of a fault. But I thought something was going to happen with that iron in one point. And when someone's carrying an iron, I was thinking, oh, here's a classic example. It'd be great to kill someone with an iron, but no, it's just shards of glass all the way.
Shards of glass of things that have just been broken.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
like has to break them herself, basically, and then find her perfect shard.
This is available if you want to watch this. There's a fantastic umbrella release of this film, and it's probably the best way to watch it. It looks really good. It's obviously been remastered because I've seen it. I remember renting this on VHS like years and years ago, and I went to eBay the other day and I thought, oh, there's one up on sale on eBay, and I was like, do I really want to pay? Oh, I think it was like $70 or $80 for an old VHS of this movie. And I was like, oh no. So I decided not to. But I think before you came on the call, Lewis, Brandon and I were talking about the cover. The cover of it is always quite memorable. I've always used the same cover on pretty much everything. So the umbrella release is great. There's a really good commentary with John Lamond and Mark Hartley. Mark Hartley made Not Quite Hollywood, the Ozploitation documentary. John Lamond's really cool because John Lamond knows what he's making. He knows he's making trash, but he kind of, I don't know if you saw any, sent you guys some trailers of some of his previous movies.
Very saucy.
He knows he makes trash, but he just knows that it's going to get people in to see it.
If Tim Burstall had energy, John Lamond had uber energy.
John had a great knack of understanding what the public was into at the time.
A bit of crudity and a bit of nudity.
And I think that's what he that's his thing. There's also a bit of a interview with John Lamond, I think made around 2008. There's trailers to all his features, so you get to see things like the awesome Australia After Dark and ABC of Love and Sex and Felicity and all these softcore porn movies he made.
Now, for the first time ever on the motion picture screen, we bring you a revealing and light-hearted look between the sheets at modern-day sex and love.
We sat around one Saturday afternoon and knocked out an idea for ABC of Love and Sex.
What we deliberately set out to avoid was textbook documentary.
John Lamond convinced me I should be in this film playing somebody who was dressed in leather.
Oh, outrageous!
Everybody was standing around in their dressing gowns and they took deep breaths and everybody lifted up, the stomachs went in and we got into the orgy. But you wouldn't want to have an orgy with any of these people. You would have run.
We did rather go out of our way to be controversial.
John knew that out there were enough people that wanted to see peeping toms and panty sniffers and leather orgies.
He could be scurrilous, but he was totally lovable.
And John never took himself seriously as either an evangelist in terms of sexual mores and freedoms or as a respectable, responsible dramatist.
I'm told I treat women like a sex object, and I suppose it's true, because I ask for sex and they object.
And then there's like extended interviews and deleted scenes. It's actually, typical of Umbrella these days. It's just really full featured. It's amazing that a film this average gets such a great release, right? So it's
very surprising. And you mentioned like the kind of the soft core porn quality of his other work. Like, I mean, there's a little bit of that in this movie. And I thought, wow, like I would like in the States, like so much of that would not get past the censors.
Yeah, it was wild, and I really wasn't expecting it. Also, like, weird to be watching, like, in my living room in the middle of the day, like, just, like, with my wife walking in and out of the room, like, and like, things are being, like, spread, and, like, you can see inside stuff, and you're like, Jesus, like, holy fuck it. I just had coffee. Like, what the fuck is going on?
This is what Lewis watches over breakfast.
I thought, if I'm going to make a gutsy horror film, there's no point in being subtle. And I thought I'd like to slash the bare behind of some bird who's been screwed in the makeup room.
When John's on theme, he likes to keep it going.
They said, which part would you like to play? And I said, Judy, perhaps. She's the only one who doesn't get killed while she's screwing.
Over lunch, do you watch like Cannibal Holocaust or something like that?
No, it's hardcore German porn. Just like real fucking sick shit, yeah.
Or stuff like Necromantic or something.
Oh. yeah. The final scene of Necromantic.
Damn Germans.
The movie's also available in Australia on Amazon Prime, so for free, if you've got a Prime subscription, you can go watch it. It's on YouTube Movies to Rent. It's not on Apple TV. I had a quick look there. I don't know that it's on Tubi. I'm sure it'll turn up one day. Yeah,
I checked. I was so sure, too, because I was like, if anyone's got this, it's fucking Tubi. Nope.
Yeah, well, Tubi's got a few exploitation films. It's quite interesting. I think they have Turkey Shoot and a few other things. Well, in Australia at least, so...
I think when I covered Turkey Shoot on the show with you was before I was like willing to try Tubi, because I'm like, I'm not going to deal with ads. I was still like really against it. I've come around to it now.
I love Tubi. I love Tubi.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a great streaming service.
I love Tubi because I just like, the ads aren't overbearing. It's not like commercial TV. And I think some movies I've watched where I've only got like maybe 2 ad breaks in the whole thing, and it's been like for 30 seconds. So
they're usually not too bad. It sucks if you're like trying to watch with someone, because like you'll get like different length ad breaks, so like everything gets desynced really easily. Yeah. But I mean, the actual ad breaks are pretty bearable. I was like mad about them for a while. I've started having to watch live TV recently again for the first time in like a decade, because I got into wrestling like an idiot. And those commercial breaks are so much more egregious than I remember. The Tubi ads are nothing.
Yeah, Tubi ads are really short. Commercial TV drives me nuts. I mean, I know May watches a lot of it, but she time shifts a lot of stuff, so she records, and then we just skip the ads, which is great. But watching TV, like just general TV with all the ads, just drives me crazy. Just I've got better things to do than watch ads. Yeah. Anyway, it's got the movie's got a massive 16% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and there's no critic reviews of this movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Critics were like, "Nah, I'm good.
I'm not touching this." 16% even seems generous.
Yeah. It's also known as stage fright in some countries. I think in the US it was known as stage fright, or somewhere in Europe, which causes more confusion, because not only are there 3 or 4 movies called Nightmares, there's about 4 or 5 movies, when I had a quick look, called Stage Fright. So it's been, so people don't see it because of this. I think I made sure when I was telling you guys about it to make sure you get the you watch the right one, because I think there's about 4 nightmares or something.
Yeah, and there's like nightmares, the nightmares, and Bob. Like just a million. Like I'm like, it could be any of these. I sat down to watch the wrong because it was on Tubi, and I was like, this is nice and easy. Yeah, and I was like, nope, wrong fucking
wrong
article.
Nightmares. Yeah, it's
well, it's such I guess you'd say like an imprecise title.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really capture like what the movie's about, and it's just so generic. It doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah, exactly.
There are nightmares are technically a part of it. Kind of. Yeah.
Sort of, yeah. My initial thoughts on this film, basically, like I said, let's be honest, this isn't a very good film. I find it a fun way to. I find it a fun way to sort of pass, I think it's only 82 minutes long or something, so it's not a long movie, but it's kind of, I don't know. There's something about it I like, but it's not because it's a good movie. Maybe it's just the fact that I like bad movies. I don't know. It's got some silly bits. It's got some stupid dialogue. It's got some bad acting. And
sure does.
And the people... The people that are in the stage production are not great actors in the stage production.
They're also terrible characters, like across the board.
The thing I noticed last night watching it again was really which I missed the first time, was about he wears green to the theater, and there's all these like theater kind of no-nos. So one is wearing green and the other one is whistling backstage and stuff like that. They're sort of like, they're kind of like traditional no-nos in theaters. And I was like, oh, they're trying to link that to the killer and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, it's not a great film. What did you guys think?
I mean,
but it's fun.
You really
should watch it, guys. If you're listening to the podcast, go and watch it. It's worth it.
You're really selling it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's
sorry, Umbrella.
It's really dull, but it is watchable. I mean, the story, it's not that interesting. At times, it's sedating. Like I was dozing off watching it, especially the scenes where they're actually performing the play. The dialogue, as you said, it's stupid. It's pretty rough. I do think cinematography is pretty good. Like I like some of the shots, and I think we'll probably talk about that in the next section. But that was my take.
Yeah. What do you think, Lewis?
Well, Pete, I'll be honest with you. I'll watch anything you want me to watch. Realistically, this one was really rough for me, particularly just because I don't like vibe with giallo stuff like at all, and this like shockingly like really fits perfectly into classic giallo stuff. I was initially though, like when it first started, I was like pretty engaged because that opening, like for some reason, really reminded me of like Suspiria and like Brandon, the first movie we covered on our show, Messiah of Evil, like that also had like a weird, bizarre dream-like opening. And I was like, okay, cool. Like this is like the kind of exploitation-y stuff I dig. And then all the giallo stuff starts and we're getting these first-person camera kills, but we know who the killer is. And there's no real plot because we know who the killer is, and at some point it doesn't really matter that they're murdering all these people, because none of the characters are interesting. Even if they're interesting, they're not good people, so who gives a shit? Like, there's nothing to really latch on to, but like you guys said, it looks nice. Like there's an aesthetic to it that's actually like really cool.
That's a really interesting point. Sorry, go on, Brandon.
Well, you mentioned about the characters not being interesting. It's not just that. It's just that they're very boring characters, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
There's just, I don't know, like, you don't care about them, which, okay, that's fine. It's a slasher movie. But they just bore me to tears. I mean, the most interesting characters to me were the director and the critic, just because they were so melodramatic and over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. and spiteful. Like they had motivation and agency. Like all the other like actors and stuff, they're just fucking dumbass actors who aren't even really clued in to the plot of someone's been murdering people, like someone's been going around hurting people. That doesn't really come to light until they're about to die. So when they're walking around and talking to each other, they're talking about stupid bullshit that doesn't matter. Guess what's not interesting when someone's going around stabbing people? How you delivered a fucking line on stage or a guy whistling. Like it's just not going to carry much dramatic weight at that point.
Yeah, right. There's no mystery, and they're not even talking about these murders like they really care.
Yeah.
Which would be more engaging.
The one chick dies, and everyone's aware of it. She dies in the theater. They all come in, and like they're bummed out for a day. But like the next day, it's like, yeah, well, back to work.
It's like she was never there.
Yeah. The guy was like questioned because they thought it was him. That never comes up again. Like he's never interrogated or anything.
But it, like you said, it does look good. It's filmed quite well, and listening to John Lamond in, I think it was either the commentary or in the little documentary piece, he was saying one thing he always tried to do, even though he knew he was kind of making trash movies to a degree, he would always try to film them well and and get good people in and get good equipment in so they would at least look good, which, they all look good to a degree for the time anyway. I think this was the first movie that used is it a Panaglide camera in Australia? I think it was one of the first movies that used that, the camera they sort of put over themselves and walk around with and whatnot.
I think it had just come out.
Time they used it. Yeah, I think so. And there was something in the commentary about he got a lot of these ideas from Halloween and things like that, and that's what he was trying to chase up. You can see that in this movie. So he just added a lot of TNA to it, basically.
A lot.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, especially those point of view shots with the heavy breathing and which there's a lot of heavy breathing.
But like it's very clearly like also like it's very feminine heavy breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the point where like I was like, are they trying to throw us off? Like we just saw the whole thing of how she became a murderer. If they had cut that out and shoved it at the end, sure. Who could it be? Maybe it's like a dress to kill situation and it's her boyfriend or something.
we also see the killer the killer is wearing heels. I mean, come on.
Oh, he might have been cross-dressing, maybe. I don't know. But
like dress to kill ending.
Yeah.
I thought maybe. Surely it's not that obvious. I mean, maybe they're just playing with me. But no.
That's exactly the arc I went on. I'm like, it can't be this fucking simple. Like, they're not just going to tell us.
But yes,
they told us.
Yeah. Well, they tell you in the trailer. If you watch the trailer, you see the very final scene in the trailer, in the movie is in the trailer. And it's
the Amazing Spider-Man 2 all over again.
I watched the trailer today, and I thought, sure, because I saw your note that they spoil the movie in the trailer, and I thought, well, I'm really curious as to how they do that. They just do it. Put the climax of the movie in the trailer.
Yeah, and it's got a nice. I noticed last night for the first time. There's a scene where, what's the guy's name? Is it Terry? Terry and Helen are in bed, and you can see the side table, and the side table has where the mirror was, and it's already broken. So they've shot the last scene before they've shot this scene. So it was either a reshoot or something like that. But if you have a look at the mirror in this scene, the mirror's already broken. You can just see the back of the cardboard or whatever's behind the mirror. And then in the scene where she kills him at the end, you see the proper mirror. So it's quite of a, it's the first time I'd noticed that.
So she needs to shatter glass to kill people because that's the only thing she'll use to murder people. Yeah. What if she needs to kill someone in like a basement with like no windows? Like you wait.
Just gonna have to wait. Yeah,
you can wait for someone to walk in with a bottle or a glass or something.
Do you think she carries around like in like a trench coat or something? She's just got like empty bottles of things like just in case there's
just
nothing.
In case. Yeah. But yeah, it does have a bit of a giallo tone, right? I think you mentioned
that.
that.
Yeah, I mean, even the
Brandon.
black glove, like, you know, it's directly send up to Giallo, if not an emulation of it.
Yeah, even with the way that the scenes are edited, like the deaths, and the lighting could be very stylized at times. Like a stylistic choice I thought was really interesting is just all of the lens flares, which have that really long horizontal line that's created because of it's like the anamorphic flare. But it's like, it reminds me of like a J.J. Abrams movie because there's just so many lens flares, especially in scenes like on the stage of the theater.
We talked about the movie being spoiled in the trailer, and let's talk about the locations in this movie. They go everywhere. They jump all over the place. Like, Helen seems to teleport from the theater to the back of the theater to her room to Terry's house, and it's just all over the place. It's just crazy.
Well, so many of the scenes feel random. Like there's not a lot of like justification for like moving from this scene to the next. Like they just feel strung together. Like there's just not a lot of narrative cohesion there.
Yeah. And the way she kills somebody and then finds herself sort of walking home in the rain. And then there's a scene where she's walking through the park and there's two people kissing in the park. And from the point of view, she's just staring at them for about 5 seconds, like a foot away from them. They just walk
There was
away.
no broken glass around. She had nothing.
There was no.
She's like, I would love nothing more than to fucking kill both these people, but God help me, we're in a park. There's trees and there's grass, but there is no broken glass.
It would have been funny though if from the point of view, like she walked over to like a trash bin and started rummaging around for a broken bottle.
She just like
just toss.
Just digging and tossing shit out.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Like, well, it's not interesting. It's just pretty boring. But anyway, whatever. The motive of the glass of this movie is like it all comes from the start of the movie when her mother goes through the windscreen of the car in the accident, and which she may well have survived, but then her daughter, or Kathy Helen pulls her back into the car, and apparently that's what killed her when she pulled it back into the car. First, I'm thinking that child is really small. How does she pull a full human body back into the car? And secondly, the way in those scenes, everyone seems to be telling her, like, obviously it's what clicks in her brain and makes her go insane, I guess, is that you killed your mother sort of thing and all this sort of stuff. But I got confused in the opening scenes, right? So it starts in, where's my notes? I wrote some other notes. So it starts on Australia Day in 1964 or something like that.
Wait, there's Australia Day?
That's, 26th of January.
Oh my God.
That's the title card. Okay. Yeah, it's Australia Day.
I've never wished you happy Australia Day. I'm so sorry.
Then we jump a month later, I think, basically. Mm-hmm. And she's been in hospital and she's out, and her father has blamed her for killing her mother. And I'm trying to work out, she kills another guy with a glass, but it doesn't look like her father. Who is that guy?
I was confused about that too, because I thought in the hospital they said that the guy that was in the car with them was not her father.
That's right.
That it was survived. Like a boyfriend or something.
It's a boyfriend, yeah. Because it starts off with it looks like Kathy at the time, Helen, is going away with a mother. Her mother's told her father or her husband that they're going to see, I don't know, her grandmother or her mother, and he's going to join them in a few days. And it seems like on the way, she takes us to a detour off to see this other guy who she's having an affair with or something, and then she sort of, I don't know, meets him in the car, and he gets a bit frisky, and then Kathy decides that she doesn't like this and somehow causes the accident. I don't know how.
Yeah, okay.
A child... Here we go.
What the hell was her mom's fucking reaction to this? Okay. One, I thought that Kathy like snuck in the car because her mom was so surprised like at what she said. She turns around, she's like, Kathy, and like, one, stupid. I don't have kids, like I've never been in that situation before, but I can't imagine if I am driving a vehicle with children in the back seat that I'm gonna like 360 like Exorcist turn my head so I can look back and just scream their names at any point. Like it was beyond me. So I thought like, oh, she must have like snuck in to the car, and the mom is just surprised that there's a kid in the backseat. Because also, why is she so cool getting finger blasted by some random dude in front, literally in front of her daughter, her child? Yeah. It made no sense to me. And also, I thought that this guy was the guy she murdered, so that wasn't the case.
Well, I don't know.
I knew there were different actors. I just thought it was bad, like a bad situation. Where like, oh, we didn't have coverage here. Because
you see, after the accident, she's in hospital, and you see that shot of the doctor and the nurse saying, "Oh, you know, her mother would have survived, except that she pulled her back into the car and cut her throat with the glass or something like that." And then there's that scene later on where she's with her father in the hospital or something, and her father says, "You've killed your mother. You've killed your mother," and did it twice, sort of thing. So she gets told 1,000,000 times she's killed her mother. But then there's the scene where she's in the bedroom with a guy that looks nothing like her father, and I don't even know who that guy is. And he's going to, I don't know if he's like some creepy uncle or...
He kissed her, right? Like, was that what happened? Because it looked like he cradled her face and like went in to kiss her.
Yeah,
yeah. That's what I thought at first too. I wasn't sure if I was misreading it.
I don't know. It's one of many bits in this movie that kind of has you scratching your head a bit.
Right. Anyway. I thought that's why she got so weird about like every time someone tried to touch her. I mean, not like weird. Like a lot of people were just like straight up trying to grope her in public, which is a problem. But they kept making a point of showing it happen in the movie and her reacting negatively to it. So I was like, oh, the same thing happened with her dad or stepdad or whatever.
Whoever it is. Yeah, I'm thinking it's someone. Last night I was thinking, maybe they're trying to imply she was, sexually abused by somebody or something like that, which is pretty heavy for a movie like this, but especially in the 80s. But maybe they were trying to imply something like that, and that gave her the reason to kill the guy with the glass, and it all happened from there. Then she was addicted to glass for the rest of her life.
My strange addiction to glass.
It'd be like a documentary these days on MTV.
Yeah.
So, I guess once again I've got to call out the music, because the music is, and I'll say it like I always say it, it's Brian May, not that Brian May. He did the music for this, and I actually think it's a pretty good score.
It is a good score.
Sounds nice.
There's a lot of music in this movie. Like this movie is 82 minutes. There's probably 75 minutes of music.
Yeah, like there's a lot of music.
It's a very busy score. It can be very aggressive at times, but it's it's good. It's a very suspenseful score.
Yeah, it is a really good score. And I think the score actually makes the trailer. Like the first few seconds of the trailer, I think are actually quite compelling. So it's a well-made trailer.
I was on board after I saw the trailer. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do this. And then I watched the movie and I was like, this isn't really what I was being sold, but sure.
No, it's good. The music's quite good, and Brian May has just, I think nearly every second movie I've done on this podcast has had his music in it. So he was quite a busy fellow in the 80s, the 70s and 80s. Some of the scenes in the movie, I think, Brandon, you had a scene you were going to talk about.
Oh, yeah, and we don't have to talk about it that long, but the play on opening night, that this is supposed to be a comedy about death, the director says, and it is boring as fuck. Like, the director, he's being heckled by that critic, that Bennett guy, and they have this very, like, melodramatic, soap opera-ish argument afterwards, and it's laughably bad, and he's creepy. He's creeping on women. He's creeping on men. And he has this very like Jane Austen character kind of name, Bennett Collingwood.
Yeah.
Oh god!
I don't know.
So
It's
that's
just
the
a
movie,
very-
by
yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
Like those two are the most interesting part of this
Yeah.
movie by like a fucking mile. Like all the murder stuff, like it pales in comparison to this guy who literally sits behind the director of a play on its opening night and heckles it into his fucking ear the whole night. Like that's hilarious. Like that's amazing.
My favorite seat. I can watch you squirm, George. Yes. Are you superstitious, George? Hmm? Then I wish you luck, Georgie. I wish you luck.
John Michael Howson, who played the critic, was actually well known on Australian TV in the 70s and the 80s, and he was a critic, a movie critic on. He was on a midday show called the Mike Walsh Show, I think, for some time. He did his own stuff like that. Yeah, he was like into movies and things like that. I think he had something to do with the script as well. He was a co-writer on the script as well.
Oh, wow.
They were saying that John Lamond and he sat down one afternoon. They came up with the whole idea for this. And from what I understand with this movie, he had the idea for the movie. He went to a meeting with some backers who were going to give him money for this movie. He thought that they might ask to see a script. So he said what he did was, before he went to the meeting, he found the script to The Exorcist. And what he did was take off the cover and put the movie title on the cover and took it with him. So it looked like he had a script. And when they asked him to see the script, he made up some excuse so they couldn't see it. He wouldn't show them the script. That's how he got his funding. And the whole thing was made really quickly, and it was in and out because all these people that backed it at the time, all they wanted to do was put their investment in so they, by the end of the financial year, they could claim it and get some money back. And so it was all very quick, and yeah, I thought that movie, the thing about the script was hilarious with him.
That makes so much sense because there's so much of people just talking about fucking stupid nothing bullshit. Like the whole like there's so many conversations about things with absolutely no consequence to the rest of the movie, and like this guy is just like, I gotta just hand them something. Like we got the money, but like we have to have something to shoot. Let me hit this page count.
I'll give him The Exorcist, but I'll just change the cover so it says Nightmares.
Brilliant. I respect the hustle 100%.
I was going to say it's really good. I mean, that I don't think you see that level of hustle anymore in the film industry. No. So this is definitely a 70s/80s sort of thing you've got happening. So
yeah, no one's funding your script without reading it.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. You'd know that, right? So yeah. The other thing I guess we touched on before, what can be a bit problematic with this film, and I guess I'll call it as a scene, is the murder of the two people in the alleyway. I think they're the first ones murdered. And the way that it's shot and the guy kind of like they're having sex in the alley, right?
Yeah.
Basically, these two people, and the guy is handling this poor woman's breast like he's milking a cow. That's how it kind of starts. And
yes.
And it's just amazing, like, and they strip off really quickly, and they're in the open in this like dirty back alley behind a theater, and the scene is kind of like quite over the top, and the blood is really over the top.
But why did they get completely naked to have sex in an alley? Like, I understand, like, ideally you're secluded, but still, you're having sex outside. Like, you just, use the wiener slot in your boxer briefs or whatever, and, she doesn't need to take all of her clothes on. Just, come on.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I also like the way that the fellow very strategically covered up his schlong so no one would see it in the film.
I saw, like half
he always
of it.
had. Yeah, the rest of the time he had his hand between us.
I saw the base.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like I was saying, that John Lamond comes from this background of doing softcore sort of stuff, I think the ABCs of Love and Sex. I've actually got that in my collection. I haven't watched it yet, but I'll bring myself to do it one day.
Tell us if we should come back for that one.
I know some friends of mine who also do an Ozploitation podcast in Australia have done that movie and a couple of others, and it was a bit of a job for them to get through because it's just like so bad. But the other one he did called Felicity is kind of like, I guess, his version of like an Emmanuel sort of movie. I also have that movie as well, and haven't watched it yet, but it's kind of like the way they talk about it in Not Quite Hollywood, but also in conversation in this movie, is that they just make these movies just to make money, right? And they put a lot of nudity in, and they're talking about a lesbian scene and all this sort of stuff, and it gets people in. And there was even, I think it's in Not Quite Hollywood, there's some conversations with people that have just seen the movie, like people have being interviewed as they come out of the movie, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll come and see it again next week or something like that. And it's like, oh, so innocent in the 70s, right? And they thought it was a big deal, right? But it's interesting that he brought kind of like that take to this movie. Like there's that whole scene where the actor in the movie, I can't remember his name, and the wardrobe lady are having sex in the wardrobe. And it's like, that's pretty full on for like a slasher movie, you know? You never see, you'll see people under the covers in a slasher movie generally, but you won't see them actually in that full on, like, you know, position doing this. Yeah, exactly.
Not a lot of thrusting. It's you typically are seeing pre or post thrusting. You're never mid thrusting.
That's true. And then there's the scene at the start of the movie where the woman's basically lying on top of the guy. You only see like half of their bodies.
Yeah, what the fuck position is it? Was he fucking her belly button?
I don't know.
Like, why
I don't know what that
was. I was so confused. I was like, does he just have like a really feminine ass and she just has like really hairy legs? And nope, it was
it's I was like,
reversed.
That's a weird position, but anyway. And then there's some weird stuff with John Michael Housen's character, the critic. First he hits on Helen at this party, and then he hits on the other actor so obviously he's bisexual, right? So it's just really showing. And that whole party piece, I'm confused again, so I'm going to bring this up again. They're going to this party hosted by the critic, John Michael Housen's character. And there's this establishing shot of the building that the party is in. I don't know if it's his house or what it is. It looks like a theater, and you get inside and it is a theater. But it looks like he's got like an office and a living room. So does this guy live in a theater, an old theater? Because this theater's
he's Phantom of the Opera.
It's pretty much because this theater is in disrepair.
Yeah.
This theater's in disrepair and it's being renovated or something. And I'm like, hang on, is this where he lives? Once again, it's one of these things in this movie where the locations are kind of all over the place.
There was a moment where I was like, is this a prequel to Phantom of the Opera? And at some point, she's just going to cut some skin off this guy's face and he's going to have to wear a mask and haunt his theater. But, you know.
Well, I felt like there was something that I was missing about the party because I just thought it was strange that the critic is like, hey, your play sucks. Your actors suck. Come to my party. You know? I'm like,
yeah.
It didn't really make a lot of sense to me anyway, but it did seem like the critic and the director had some kind of relationship or, that preceded like the events of this movie.
Yeah. I just assumed it was bad writing. I saw that and I was like, oh, like they just need an excuse for these people to be together so that one of them, and it was pretty obvious the critic was going to get it for a while, was going to get killed, you know? So, you know, they're like, come to a party at my house. Why? Because I fucking hate you. Like, just come.
It's amazing we're giving such much analysis to this movie.
Yeah. we've 100% thought about it more than the writer did.
His death scene's all right, though. He gets the shard of glass in the neck, and they actually show it, and it's kind of cool. But once again, I think it would have. I know they're trying to work. I know the whole thing was about glass, right? So that's the whole thing. But it would have been nice at least if there was a bit more variety in the kills. Like I said, when I saw that woman walking backstage with the iron, I thought, okay, something's going to happen with the iron, but no, and it's all about the glass, baby. Interesting film. So
with a setup for a sequel, by the way, at the end.
yeah, because she gets off scot-free, right? Spoiler alert.
Gets a new fucking role.
And then she turns up and to another audition where she's obviously going to knock off a whole lot of other people in, Nightmares 2 Electric Boogaloo. So
Nightmares 2 The Rise of Taj.
It's a very abrupt ending. Like, what's your name? And she's like, Helen Selleck. Boom. There's the title. Okay.
I was
a
really
big
caught
stinger.
off guard.
I love movies like this where they just go, oh, you know what? That's enough. We're just going to, this is it. It's just going to close it off.
We've shot enough footage that we can justify charging you $10 for this ticket. So we're done.
Yeah. It is a fun movie, but I promise next time I have you guys on, I'll have you on for something a bit more substantial.
Look, we watch trash all the time, man. So,
well, I thought you'd be perfect, right? So
yeah.
I thought this is very much. I would have thought maybe a Gory Picture Show kind of movie. So,
oh, absolutely, yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. I guess my final thoughts on the movie is like it's pretty. Like you were saying, it is dull, but it's entertaining at least. I think there's points where, as you were saying, Brandon, it's just really flat and nothing much is happening. There's a couple of shots that are repeated in regards to the POV shots. There's a shot, especially when they're going in through a doorway and there's a set of stairs or something in front. And you see that shot about 4 times during the movie. The acting's not great. The relationship between the director and the critic is probably the only relationship that's worthwhile in the film. The seeing Gary Sweeker killed at the end, but being also shown in the trailer is like the biggest giveaway of all. And I don't think they really cared, right? I think they were just making a movie to make money and a tax break for some dentists or some lawyers or something like that wanted to fund the movie, But it's a bit of fun. I would definitely, like I said, I'd definitely recommend the Umbrella Blu-ray if you're into this sort of movie. I know there's people that listen to the podcast that are kind of into these sort of movies, so definitely check it out. It's really worthwhile. Thoughts from you guys?
I was going to say, I agree that it's definitely worth checking out. Like, I'm someone who doesn't like giallo movies. If I was interested in it, like, to see, like, what is apparently the lone Australian giallo flick, like, I think worth it on that merit alone. It can be rough at points to get through, but it pulled me back when I drained off, and, like, I had a great time talking to you guys about it. So I get some friends together, shit all over it while you're watching.
I think that's probably the best way to watch it.
You joy.
Okay,
yeah, a few beers deep and joking with your friends would be your best bet.
Yeah,
I don't have much to add to that. I'll say if you go in expecting that it's just a bunch of boring, horny actors getting stabbed while banging in the bowels of a theater, that's the movie. Some neat cinematography, not much else. I really wish that we would have had more mystique around the killer to keep the audience invested. Like, I feel like that was the critical piece that was missing. But I mean, it is what it is. But go check it out. Like Lewis said, don't watch it sober.
Don't watch it sober. Yeah, and don't watch it in the afternoon. It's not an afternoon watch.
No,
don't watch it with
not.
mom and dad.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely
they
not.
will see full vulva, and it's going to be weird.
Especially if your wife walks in when you're watching it. Yeah, exactly. Actually, I was going to say, we're talking about it being a giallo-like movie. The only issue where it really breaks the giallo rules is it tells you who the killer is right at the start.
Yeah.
Those movies are like,
But then it pretends that it didn't, so it's like all washed away.
It's great. Anyway, it's a fun watch. I know we've been all over the place as we usually are, but there's no way. I mean, if we tried to walk through this movie, it'd be just so boring. The whole episode would be so boring. So
I think they got a clear picture. Actors died, and the chick who was always the killer was the killer. In the end.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah. And she suffers no consequences. So basically, there's no story at all here.
No, but it's fun.
I just don't understand why they try to pretend like they didn't tell us who this killer is, because whenever Helen is murdering people, like she is, cloaked in darkness and wearing black leather gloves. I mean, that's the giallo thing, but
no one's saying her name either. They all recognize her. No one's like, get the fuck out of here, Helen. Jesus. Like, everyone's just like, you? What are you doing here?
What are you doing with that broken beer bottle, Helen?
Why'd you stick that in my neck?
All right, so that's great. So that's Nightmares. What's happening with Gory Picture Show, guys?
I guess we are still trying to decide on what to do next. We have a few strong contenders, but we haven't made a decision yet.
Cool.
We will.
Tell us a bit about.
There will be more episodes.
There'll be more episodes. And tell us a bit about the last episode you had on, just so people know.
Sure, yeah. We interviewed Jackie Naaman Jones. We actually teamed up with the boys at Cinema Marketing, Mike and Anthony. We did a little crossover episode. We each had our own interview with Jackie Naaman Jones, kind of more pertaining to our specific podcast subjects. So you can listen to the same conversational part between me, Brandon, Jack, and Anthony on both feeds, and then each of our individual feeds has a unique interview with Jackie Naaman Jones, who played the daughter in Manos, The Hands of Fate, notoriously known as the worst movie of all time. And they're both great conversations. She's fantastic and
it's a great episode.
Loves telling every little detail. Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was a great listen. She was like so good. You didn't have to really. You didn't have to prompt her much to talk about stuff, which is fantastic.
I didn't have to be there. She could have set up like a camera with just like a bunch of questions, and she would have been fine. She's a natural.
Yeah, she was really good. She's really passionate about the whole thing, and it was really interesting because I still haven't seen that movie. I do have it. I might actually watch it this weekend, seeing I'm having a bachelor weekend, and.
I can't recommend that you do, Pete.
Really? I watched Nightmares.
I advise against it.
I watched Nightmares.
That's true. This is way more difficult to watch than Nightmares.
Oh, really?
This is hardly a movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll watch it.
It's shorter. It's like 70 minutes. Yeah. Something like that.
It feels like your entire life.
Yeah. I got the gist from the interview that it's pretty basic, and it was like a bit of a labor of love and whatnot. Yeah. And it's really interesting. I love hearing stories about movies like that. So it's great. It's really good.
Absolutely.
It's cool. And what's happening on Varicom Video, Brandon?
Soon we are going to be talking about The Fifth Element. So we'll be starting a new series covering 90s movies that we enjoy, or 90s sci-fi movies that Jordan and I both enjoy.
Awesome. And you don't do random movie roulette anymore, do you, Lewis? Or is that
no? But if anyone liked that podcast, me and Mike every month on Cinema Market, we have a whole backlog of episodes. If you want to listen to it, Random Movie Roulette on all podcast services, still up there. I guess our website's down, so I won't plug that. But Mike and I still do every month. We on the Cinema Marketing podcast feed, we talk about kind of the movie news of the previous month, and kind of go slowly insane, realizing the state of our industry every month. So it's a good time.
Cinema Marketing is a good podcast too. Tell people a bit about that, what that's about.
Yeah, Cinema Marketing is fantastic. It's a podcast specifically about the marketing for movies. It's hosted by Mike from Random Movie Roulette, who is our co-host, and our friend Anthony. They are friends since childhood, have always shared a very specific love of these nostalgia fueled movies. Now they just recently did Hunchback of Notre Dame, stuff that they kind of grew up with, and they like to take a step back and look at how these movies were promoted, all the weird brand tie-ins and stuff. So they find a lot of really interesting stuff. You get to hear all the different kinds of trailers and stuff that were put out for the movies, and their Instagram account will have all the different posters and some visual aids to look at while you're watching, while you're listening to the episode. So they're definitely worth a follow.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming on again. It's great to have you, and it was fun talking about this movie. Like I said, I'll definitely have you guys back to talk about some other stuff. I've got a couple in mind for later in the year, a couple of things like Dead Calm and stuff like that, which is a great movie. So I'll have you guys back for that, and a few other things as well. So it's great. So thanks very much for coming on, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely, anytime, man. Yeah. I'm always happy to come and talk about whatever movie you want to talk about, man. So don't hesitate to reach out.
I will hold you to that, don't worry.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. And when we come back, we'll talk about what's coming up next.
And now, preview time. When it comes to entertainment, you can't beat a good film. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
In this wasteland, I am the one who runs from both the living and the dead. A man reduced to a single instinct. Survive.
It is by my hand you arise from the ashes of this world.
We are not thieves. We are not thieves.
Where is she taking them? I want them back! They're my property!
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Want to get through this?
Let's go!
As the world fell, each of us in our own way was broken. It was hard to know who was more crazy. Me or everyone else.
Next on A Dingo Ate My Movie, B. Jermaine joins me from the Ozplate cast to discuss the visually stunning and action-packed Mad Max Fury Road from 2015. I'm looking forward to you joining us. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. Thank you to all my guests who give their time to make this podcast possible, and a special thanks to you for listening. Don't forget you can follow A Dingo Ate My Movie on social media. We're at Dingo Movie on Twitter, Dingo Movie Pod on Facebook and Instagram, and we're on the web at dingomoviepod.com. If you'd like to support the show, leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, or share the show with your friends. Of course, you can always buy me a coffee over at buymeacoffee.com/dingomoviepod. Once again, thanks for listening, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next episode of A Dingo Ate My Movie.
I don't mind talking. I'm just in the mood tonight. God knows what's come over me.